A cell hasher, in terms of mining, is a phone Android ASIC miner. It allows the user to manage up to 20 phones in a single container and use them directly for mining like CPU mineable coins. So it's extremely efficient, even more efficient than Raspberry Pis.
A cell phone has to be on your person all day long, operating off of a battery. So they have to be really powerful, but also really efficient in terms of how much power they use. You rip out the battery, you have to rip off the screen, you just are left with the main board of the phone. You slot these things into what looks like an ASIC case, just a little square black metal case. And there's a couple fans that blow air across them, keep them cool. There's a power supply, and you plug it into the mains. So what is a single box making mining that?
So a single box mining that is making around $40 a day.
$40 a day.
Which is better than an ASIC, and you're using maybe a couple pennies in electric. So,
welcome to the Andy and Friends podcast. I'm your friend Andy, and on this episode of the podcast, I'm talking to Luke Wright. He operates crypto mining farms of hundreds or even thousands of cell phones, builds custom phone ASICs, has had his hand in development on a bunch of the bigger cryptos, and played a major role in relaunching a mineable crypto called Bellscoin. There is a ton of alpha in this episode, and if you're interested in mining, especially in high profit, high efficiency mining, you will not want to miss this one. Let's jump into it. And here we are on this episode of the podcast with my friend Luke Wright. How you doing? Good to see you.
Andy, it's good to see you. I'm excited to be here and to talk today. Awesome to meet you in person, and now we're here talking, so it's great.
I know it's weird to see you digitally when we've for the first time met at conferences. So I just need to see like in the confines of a conference for this to make sense. I don't know how to.
Yeah, we might need to set up at like either a roadside restaurant or something like that, and then we'll be good. The scene is there. We're envisioning the scene.
I love it. Okay, well, let's jump right in. You are a man of many talents in the world of crypto, so maybe this is a challenge, but I would love it for those who are listening if you could give kind of a brief intro to all the things that you are doing within the under the umbrella of crypto.
Okay, it's a big list. We'll try to condense it. I don't say that to sound crazy like I'm all over the place, but anything from mining to nodes to, deep in, from using like scripting languages and other phones, all the way from developing on core, like Bitcoin Core, Litecoin Core, Bellscoin Core now, Salinity, Rust, all those different developments, to making websites on top of ENS domains, which are .eth, .ethereum. All kinds of stuff in the roundabout way is kind of what this breadbasket entails. I would say currently my main focus right now is doing core development as well as expanding my crazy phone farm that I'm sure we'll get into eventually. But yeah, so all around, your average Gen Z degen, maybe some people would say. So there we go.
I love it. I mean, I'm in, if you talk about my portfolio positions, it's probably like 100 plus positions. I've got, I don't know, 30 or 40 crypto passive income things that I'm managing that I, keep track of. There's probably some more on top of that. I'm always gluing something to the side of my house or setting up a miner in a shed or something. So, I mean, those of us who do this stuff, we get it. Like, it's not that you can't focus on one thing. It's just there's so many. Yeah, you got a radio antenna there. I love it.
Wing bits, that one.
Yeah, it's just fun. Yeah. Like, it's not that we're so scattered we can't pay it. It's just there's so many opportunities. And I don't know, maybe you can speak to this, but I'm such a techie and geek with this stuff. I just want to play with it all. So it's like hard to focus.
I think being so heavily involved in like many different areas, I don't get as much burnout in terms of things, because there's always something new that I'm willing to try. And I think maybe to your point, like, we like learning and we like understanding different aspects of things. So the burnout doesn't really come too often because there's always something new to where it gains your attention for that period of time. And I honestly think that's the best thing for it, because I make my worst decisions when I've been on the same thing for like the past 2 years, because then I get emotionally attached to it.
Yep.
And by then I'm making the wrong decision. So the fast pace of crypto has been perfect for, my ADHD and everything in between.
Yeah, I love it. So let's give some more context here before we dig into some of the actual details. But I'd love it if you tell folks how you kind of got into the world of crypto. And I think there's a couple really interesting stories, some lessons learned, kind of give us the high level of some of that stuff maybe.
Let's do it. So in my household growing up, my parents weren't too fond of video games, and which is fine. But I really wanted to play video games. All my friends were playing video games, and I couldn't think of any way to play a video game because if I wanted to buy a console, they obviously knew it was for video games. So I had to think of another way to do that, and I came across, PC gaming, and I'm like, oh, I might be able to convince my parents to let me build a computer because that's a skill to learn, and that seems cool, for your my boomer parents. Building computers, oh, that's cool. Can you do something? But build it for school and use it for schoolwork. So thankfully, I convinced them to do that. I was working, a job. I was, 13, 14 under the table working just at a random restaurant, cooking and stuff. Paid for my first computer parts, got everything shipped, looked up tutorials, built the computer. And then I got into playing games, which I think eventually they figured out what I was actually doing with it. But those games that I was playing, RuneScape, World of Warcraft, a few others, I would go and I wanted to be sort of pay to win. And I didn't have a way to get money necessarily onto these platforms other than, I was able to get my grandma to pay for a World of Warcraft subscription at the time. But there was accounts that I could buy with cryptocurrency. And I could get in-game items by buying them for trade with cryptocurrency. And Litecoin was that currency that people were trading in at the time, and Bitcoin a little bit. So then that got me into the world around, 14, 15 of, okay, there's crypto out there. And this is 2014, 2015. So I looked into that. I couldn't get any money onloaded into the platform. I couldn't ask my parents for their cards. They totally okay, this is a scam. I didn't even dare ask them at the time. So what I did was I actually went on Reddit, and you can go and, check my Reddit logs. It was, /Kuzner, Kuzner. And you can see the history of kind of my crypto journey where I went into communities such as Litecoin, Dogecoin, and Redcoin, helping people actually import and export their wallets because sometimes they were CLI interfaces and they didn't know how to interact with it. I self-taught myself to learn all this. And then even when, the GUIs versions would update, people wouldn't understand how to import their wallet into it at the time with the software the way it was. It was just a little harder, but it was really easy. Looking back on it now, everybody knows how to do this. I'm not sure if everybody's running core wallets because they have it all on their phone at this point. But long story short, I was helping people do this. And in return, I would ask, shamelessly, I'd ask hey, if I'm also I'm 15, 16. Is there any chance you'd be willing to tip me to do this? Because I can't buy, I can't get my hands on crypto. So they did that. And I helped probably close to, I'd say 200-300 people, no joke, over the course of a full year, 2 years doing this. And it was perfect timing because it was 2016, late 2016, all the way through 2017, right before that bull run peaked. So I had accumulated some crazy amounts at the time where I was holy smokes, I'm rich. It was I had $10,000 in Redcoin at a 0.0000 decimal point, 4 zeros. And that pumped in 2017 all the way up to, I believe, almost 2 or 3 pennies. So just crazy amounts in return. Same thing happened with Doge, a little bit with Litecoin, but Doge and Redcoin together, the combined portfolio that I had at the peak of 2017 was almost 7 figures, which is insane. But
wow,
I couldn't do anything with it because I was trying to withdraw it, trying to sell it. I couldn't do anything. Stablecoins weren't really something that I knew about. I don't even remember, honestly, if people were really messing with them at the time. But I remember sending money into KuCoin, money into Coinbase at the time as well. And I'd get flagged because I wasn't 18. So my accounts were locked and I had no way to extract these funds. And it was terrible because they didn't have KYC like it is today, but you still had to be 18. And I was 16, 17, and I couldn't do anything with it. Fast forward, we know the story. Everything comes crashing down. 2017 to 2018. 2018's a bear market. I am now 18 and I cash out everything, which I'm grateful for. It was still a decent amount, but it wasn't even 6 figures at the time. So there's my journey into crypto story for you.
I feel like lots of folks have, maybe not similar in like all the ins and outs of that story, but similar that like our first entry into the space, if we have any success, it's really tough to hold on to that success. In your case, it was like an age thing, but a lot of us, I mean, for me, I just didn't know what I was doing. And I just I sunk lots of money into crypto, watched it go high, and I assumed, because I wasn't familiar with the cycles and all this stuff yet, and I assumed I just have money now. And then I watched it drop dramatically. And this is the same time period. We actually share, I didn't realize this, but my first foray into crypto was 2014. It was Litecoin mining.
Wow.
And yeah, at the time, it's like, good. You have to be a pretty big tech head to run this stuff. It's you're running Linux. There's no GUI stuff, GUI stuff. It's all command line. But it wasn't until 2016, 2017 that I really got into it. And then, yeah, 2018 hit, and I'm like watching my money vanish. I didn't actually cash out anything in that cycle. I probably should have cashed out like you did, but I kept hanging on to it, kept building it. And then the next cycle went a lot better. And then this one's looking really good. But like, do you feel like most people you encounter have similar stories, or do you feel like from your experience now that you almost have to go through that like initiation rite to like lose some big or make some big mistakes before it clicks?
Yeah, I think that very much like you, I would say that the majority of the people that you see here during bear markets, I say building, but I just mean like representing and staying through the bear market, probably have the same story roughly that we have. I don't think it's new to anything where somebody's watched their bag go up significantly and also watched it come back down significantly.
Yep.
But I would say, like, I hope, and now for like the last, decade that we've had within crypto, that I think that is the story, is like, you need that initiation. I think, unfortunately, you need to get hacked once. You need to go up and live through a bear cycle once or twice. Watch your bags go up, watch your bags go down, be emotionally numb to it. I think you need to get through that in order to be there. I do believe in the future, though, that we won't be there because it'll be so seamless. And I think that's ultimately, as long as you're there before it's too seamless to where your grandma can use it, you're still early. So for saying things, we're here. Yep.
Yeah, if there's a point when your grandparents are using crypto like it's no big deal, I'm sorry, but you missed the upside. We have arrived. Crypto is globally adopted. Yeah. Find another like asymmetric bet because you missed crypto at that stage. But we're still, most people on the planet have never interacted with crypto. We're still super early.
Or you're still super limited. Like America is, I mean, yeah, you have a lot of opportunity, but you're actually really limited in terms of like, what you can do regulation wise. So there's ways, of course, you can work around it, but even in America, you are still somewhat limited to the exposure you can get. Like IPOs, you can't do those. I think just yesterday, I think Trump's family is advisors to it, but the World Liberty Financial thing that they announced, you can't, if you're an American citizen, you can't get it unless you're an accredited investor under regulation, something, I don't know what the regulation is, but just saying like that household name is American. People in America want to potentially be involved with this, but they can't unless they're an accredited investor. So again, we have limitations for the average Joe still in America. Eventually that won't be the case. And then we're there.
But, and here's a nice little segue for us, where you can still get in and all this stuff is through crypto mining, which is kind of like that back door into the world of crypto. You can, and if you really chose to, you can mine crypto, acquire it, and no one actually would know. It's KYC-free crypto accumulation. But one of the most exciting things I want to talk to you about, there's lots of things I want to dig into, but this is probably the number one, is something called the Cell Hasher. I'm pretty sure this is how we initially connected, because I had bought this thing on eBay that had a bunch of cell phones in it. I didn't know how it worked or what it was, and I was figuring this out. I saw that you were on Twitter also buying this thing and trying to figure it out. We were talking back and forth. So explain to people what the Cell Hasher is now in its current form that you've kind of run with, and maybe what you're doing with it or what you can do with it.
Yeah, so a Cell Hasher in terms of mining is a phone, Android, even iPhone to an extent. ASIC miner. It's ASIC miner is kind of a little bit of a stretch, but it's essentially clustering, 20 phones, not sharing the hash rate, but they individually hash, but a better way to house them and manage them without batteries, which is really important because if you've experienced mining with phones with batteries or doing any sort of computing power, if you leave it run, eventually your phone battery will bubble up and explode, and now you have lithium ion battery burning that you can't put out unless you got like a bucket of sand or something. So what this device does is it allows the user to manage up to 20 phones in a single container, batteryless, even screenless sometimes, and use them directly for mining like CPU mineable coins, which is outstanding because the wattage difference is like it's so efficient, even to like the 7950X 3Ds that are out today, or like the Epic cores that they have, the server grade CPUs. So it's extremely efficient, even more efficient than Raspberry Pis. So this is a whole new level to phone mining, to at-home mining, where people can actually, if you have a residential rate of like 15, 17 cents, you're still profitable, which is insane. You wouldn't think about that in the mining world today. If you have that rate, you're kind of screwed. So you got to stick to DPIN or phones. So that is kind of the version or what the cell hasher is in general. I think when we connected, it was because I was trying to figure out, when I had mine, the voltage on the PSU that I got wasn't actually covering all of the phones correctly. It wasn't outputting what I needed because every phone, and what I've learned through this, every phone is different. Every phone model has like a circuitry system that calculates what voltage the phone needs, what voltage the phone is at if the battery needs to be implemented, if they need to pull from the battery, charge the battery. So there's whole different software and circuitry involved with it. And the phones that I had weren't rooted phones at the time. So I wasn't able to change or, package in software or custom OS or a custom ROM into the phone. I had to directly figure out the power supply. So when I connected with you, I was curious what power supply you actually had in your container at the time, because mine wasn't working one bit. So I reached out to you. Thankfully, you responded. I was like, okay, Andy's a big guy. I'm not sure if he's going to respond to this kid, but he did. So there you have it. If you're watching this, don't spam him, but he does respond if you have a good idea or something. But yeah, Cell Hasher is where that is now. Huge operation.
Yeah. So what's so cool is, for those who know anything about like cell phone CPUs and stuff, like a cell phone has to be on your person all day long, operating off of a battery. So it has to just sip on power. So it's be super efficient, but also has to, with that efficiency, it has to be really powerful to do all the various apps and things, especially the cameras that we have now that do all this in software, on chip, like processing and stuff like that. So they have to be really powerful, but also really efficient in terms of how much power they use. So in the case of the cell hasher, you rip out the battery. You have to rip off the screen. You just are left with the main board of the phone. You slot these things into what looks like an Asics case, just a little square black metal case. That's, it's like a foot wide. And you slot these phones in there. There's a couple fans that blow air across them, keep them cool. There's a power supply, and you plug it into the mains. And you've created, which I kind of call it like a phone ASIC. It's not an ASIC, but it's a really novel way to utilize phones, because I've watched so many people who do like phone farms, and they just do regular phones, which I've tried that too. And inevitably, even if you like let the batteries drain and recharge, and you have them on like timers, they still eventually, just because so much cycling, so much uptime and heat, the batteries bubble and stuff. And that lithium ion fire, like battery fires, those are terrifying. So this removes that element, adds a layer of safety, but you still have to you have 20 phones. You have to manage 20 phones. So walk me through what you're doing on the front of like how you actually manage that and get onto them and like load software to mine and things like that.
Yeah. So first up, great explanation right away off the top of the head right there. What I'm doing to manage them is, at first, I guess I was a little selfish because everybody was trying to figure this out at the same time, is I made my own scripts, and I didn't really share those scripts right away. So I had full automation of my mining machines. So from start to setup, other than the initial phase of just enabling like USB debugging, because with USB debugging, it allows you to connect it to the computer and then run Android debugging service commands to it, which is just an integrated thing into Android itself. So once you have just that manual process done, everything else can be automated on your device. So I had scripts that would go ahead, install the terminal that I needed, install the mining software that I needed, and hash. And then I also created scripts that would allow monitoring of these devices to where, say, a phone crashed for some reason or the power went off and came back on. Now these scripts would actually get the phone back online and hashing to where it's managed, like manageless. For example, I've been running them now for coming up on a year next month, a full year. And I think I have like 600 phones that I'm running currently in this location. I think maybe I've had to check and manage 20 of those phones in a 1 year period and see what was wrong. And oftentimes I didn't do a good job soldering the hardwired connection that I personally did. So it was complete my error and not software error or anything like that. And the phones have all been running great hash rates still. The cooling has been outstanding. No worries of battery fires, which is, prime. I'm happy about that. But it's crazy. Now we actually have a software that I'll show you here very shortly that I've just been finishing up, where it's a GUI now, and people can just kind of go through. They can select a custom script. You can edit the battery temperature to trick the device. You can edit the battery level to trick the device. You can enable booting directly when power is connected, which is something that you'd really want to make the automation process better. The monitoring scripts are all there. Even able to interact with your phone visually on your computer. You can swipe and interact with it. It's super cool. I'm biased because I built it. I'm not like the best developer because I'm using mainly all core stuff. So most of this is all coded within Python and Kivy, which anybody coding applications now is going to laugh at me for using that. But it's something that I actually I'm confident in. So I know how to do that. But yeah, that's where we're at.
Even if it's a little, rough around the edges compared to I've had to beat my head against the wall a little bit with my device, just managing each individual device one at a time, that's tedious and is, whatever. So even if it's rough around the edges, if you can just you can monitor and you can manage it all at the same time, that's a huge step forward. So, okay, answer this. One, I want to talk more about the farm in a second, but you've got a bunch of these. So what are some of the most popular things that you're running on these phones? And what are some of those profitable? And of the profitable things, what is one unit with 20 phones in it making per day or per month or however you want to quantify that?
Yeah, the timing for this talk has been great because there was a new thing that got launched and the profitability is a little crazy. Obviously, it'll come down. But statistically, over the course of the year, if you want to get into phone mining, what you're going to mine is you're going to mine Verus, Verus. Verus is their own chain, their own blockchain, which also enables merge mining with other PBaaS chains, which is privacy-based chains. So you can, while mining Verus, you also get additional, they have a V and then whatever the privacy token is. So Pirate Chain is one of those. It's nothing crazy, but a box of 20 phones, if you're using some of the more efficient phones, when I say efficient, anything getting over 5 hashes a second or 5,000 kilohashes a second, you're going to make around $1 to $1.50 a day on Verus, which is on a device. I mean, the ROI for anybody who is originally trying to do this on their own, sourcing 20 phones, getting a box, straight up, if you're going to do this, try to get your phones under the $40 range, under $30 if you can, which is very doable. On eBay, you can buy phones with cracked screens, which is the best thing ever because people just like to toss their devices away when their screen's cracked with their Android. So you can get some really cheap phones, and then you go ahead and you get a box, and your ROI is 1 to 2 years, which is relatively kind of what an ASIC is. But if you get good at it, you can actually get your cost down significantly to where your ROI is less than a year, which, not to toot my own horn, but I have already ROI'd on all of my devices, and
That's crazy.
I'm really grateful for that.
Anything less than a year, in my opinion, is amazing.
Oh,
I mean, a lot of people get spoiled in crypto. We go, if it's not going to break even in 3 to 6 months, why even bother? I'm like, you live in a fantasy world. Like anything really less than 2 years is great, but anything less than a year is like amazing. So the fact that you have 600 plus, well, at least just in one location, you've broken even on those. That's pretty cool. So what else are you running on the phones?
So right now, another one that launched is called Shia coin. It's a CPU mineable coin. It's a fork from Bitcoin with a different hashing style algorithm where it's, I should have came prepared. I don't know the hashing terminology for this algorithm. All I know is that you can run phones on it and it's very profitable at the current time.
So what is a single box mining that?
So a single box mining that is making around $40 a day.
$40 a day.
Which is better than an ASIC, and you're using maybe a couple pennies in electric. So,
and how much, if you were to source, do the cell hasher yourself, how much are you spending to get a single cell hasher?
So like myself, I'll be completely honest here. I try to get my phones obviously as cheap as I possibly can. I run obviously the cell hasher business aside of it as well. So when I'm buying in bulk, I'm able to actually buy some for my operation as well. So my prices are obviously a little cheaper than if somebody were to go buy an original unit. But all said and done, I think like $500 a box roughly is kind of whereabouts I'm at, all things said and done. So there's the transparency right there. I'm running $500 roughly a box. And you have to monitor them because the ROI at like $1 to $1.50 a day is like 2 years. But alternatively, I said I already ROI'd. That's because of some other things that I'll talk about. But like Shia coin, something that comes up, you have to be on top of it. And it's hard to be on top of things, but there's opportunities obviously everywhere. You know this. Don't be afraid or don't be sad if you miss one. There's going to be another one.
Hundreds.
Yeah, there's hundreds
of ones.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't go chasing. But yeah, so like $40 a day now, those boxes are going to pay themselves off in just a few days, provided there's enough liquidity, which thankfully there's been an exchange listing with Shia where there was liquidity. So I was able to cash out a ton. I hate to say that I'm cashing out, but I was cashing out for that initial hype of the exchange listing. Now I guess I'm stacking a little bit more, but spec mining is absolutely great. I think you had a conversation with Son of a Tech. I'm not going to say his real name because I'm not sure if he doxed himself here or not, but he's really big into spec mining. And this is probably the most efficient way I've found to actually spec mine because most spec mining is CPU or GPU, but the majority of it comes to CPU. And once the CPUs are drained or the GPUs come on, and then it goes to FPGAs and Asics and all that. But spec mining has been insanely profitable. The next thing, go ahead.
I was going to say the cell hasher. So I know you have your cases and you do all that. Do you actually sell them fully stocked with phones too?
So that's coming. Yes, I've worked out a few deals. The hard part is actually sourcing that many phones without raising alarms. So, for example, when I bought my first 1,000 phones, I actually had to sign a document with when they came shipping saying that I wasn't illegally using these devices to use them as trap phones or sell them to I don't know, cartel or drug or anything like that, which was really interesting. I've never had that before. And I don't think people would run into that if they're buying just like the motherboards of the phones. Since I was buying full phones from a certified reseller of Verizon, it was a little interesting. There was some legal aspects to it to where I had to sign saying I wasn't actually going to use these for illegal activities kind of thing.
Do you know how much you'll be charging for a fully finished cell hasher with phones?
Yeah, so a fully finished cell hasher running around 120 mega hash. I think the box that you had roughly ran around 60 mega hash.
Something like that.
So the 120 mega hash versions will be right around the $1,000 range. Which it is a little pricey, but it's the fact of
I felt like that was a great deal.
I mean, I feel like it's pricey being me, but knowing the labor that actually goes into building the box and soldering the connections. And if it's different phones, you don't just have standard cables, and I can't just get standard cables made. I have to actually use the phone's battery that comes with it to take that BMS cable, is what it's called, battery management system cable, off of the battery and solder it to a cable that works with our devices. So there's a lot of labor that goes into one of these devices, but all things considering, it's been it's really like a deep-in kind of project with a proof of work mining aspect to it, because I don't have to manage it like I have to manage my other Asics and worry about the temperature or worry about what algorithm I'm mining. I mean, yeah, I guess I do have to worry about what algorithm I'm mining with the phones, but it's just crazy. The next.
Yeah. I was going to say, $1,000 to me sounds great as someone who has opened one of these up, has had to swap out the PSU and seen like what it entails to connect the phones to, all together to the board. And so like, this is a lot of manual, tedious soldering and wires. And so, if someone balks at that price and thinks that's crazy, well, then, they can feel free to go build it themselves and learn very quickly how much effort goes into one of these things to make it a seamless, actual product experience. Because this is it's not just buying phones, putting them on a shelf next to each other and hashing them individually. This is a more or less purpose-built phone ASIC. So I think I'd be very excited to, at that price, to get some more of these. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah. It's I felt like it was a fair price based on the labor. And obviously that's the 120 mega hash version. So there's going to be different models because different phones have different processors in it. So you'll have your 60 mega hash version that will obviously be more cheaper, more reasonable, all the way up to potentially 140 mega hash. Those phones are still a little pricey to source, so it doesn't make quite sense to actually use them efficiency-wise still, because you can beat it with lower volts and everything. One unit of these, just so people know kind of what power it's consuming, for my tests, running with screens on, so LED screens on, no batteries, it takes about 100 watts, which is still really good. Within the software that I created, there's actually a way to have your screens on, which is important for some devices, but actually turn them off while the operations are running in the background, which actually saves you 10 watts. It doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're running, 50 boxes, it adds up and it's great. I mean, it's really not a lot at 100 watts anyway, when you're running 20 phones.
100 watts is amazingly efficient, especially considering that right now, if you wanted to buy an ASIC that made more than $40 per day, you would be spending 30 to 40 grand on that ASIC from Bitmain, and it would be consuming 3,000 to 3,500 watts constantly. And this, a cell hasher is using 100 watts or less. So what used to be a regular incandescent light bulb, it costs pennies in comparison. It's like the efficiency is off the scale, which is why I've been excited about, talking to you about these things and just telling people about them, because cellphone mining is very slept on, and the efficiency and ability to pivot and change the things that are is just, I think it's off the scale.
Yeah, I'll add to this. Obviously, yes, I'm running this business and I'm very biased about it, but I don't think there's been a time in my mining journey where I've been so excited, because it's the fact that this is still early is the term, but not a lot of people do it, but a lot of people do it. A lot of people that are doing it aren't saying anything because they know that it's been profitable and consistently profitable for a couple, 3-4 years now, to the point where they're doing this. And it's not just the only use case for it. You have click farms. Click farms are huge. Obviously you're doing click farms, be careful. I'm pretty sure it's against a lot of terms of service for a lot of different media platforms. But click farms have been huge, where people have bought followers or bought likes or bought this and that. They are ran by phones. You are interacting with somebody's phone farm that you are paying them to go, and they are running all these phones to give you whatever it is on your click farm. Same thing works for these TON games. Recently, I had a bunch of orders come in asking, hey, are these devices, can I use these for this TON game, a tap game? So I had some people that had bought devices simply so that they could play the TON tapping games on Telegram, which is really interesting. I haven't personally done it myself. I did. Well, I shouldn't say that. I set something up, but like I was like, I have time that I better spend elsewhere. But it's crazy the different use cases that you have. The next use case is actually what the majority of my phones are running right now. So I'm saying, I shouldn't say saying goodbye to Varus or the profit, but I'm taking a little bit of a risk and not getting any profit directly, but providing cloud compute to a project called Acurast, which is a fully funded Switzerland-based company that does cloud computing, kind of like, you could say salad for like GPUs and AI, but with Android phones. So it's way cheaper to buy than AWS servers because you can run a website on your phone. You can set up a server to run different things. And their software is very good in terms of how they can manage updates. I'd love to get on their level, and I will someday. But they're able to, push updates directly from their own in-house software directly to like your phones, which a lot of people don't necessarily like. But it's cloud computing, and they've said that there's going to be an airdrop. So if you've watched this long, there's your little alpha there. There is a fully funded airdrop coming to Acurast, and it's still within like their few phases. I think airdrop will happen like mid next year. So you're still have time to get devices up and provide compute and get testnet tokens. So that's currently what I have my devices on right now. So it's just another use case. But yeah, that's the Cell Hasher journey. Recently, I can't name any names, but a very prominent ASIC miner in the Litecoin space, script space, who owns a very significant portion of the hash rate, which is like, holy smokes, I can't believe you have that. Upwards of like $200 million of ASIC equipment is what they're running, has recently found out my contacts and got in contact with me to try to propose building a whole warehouse of upwards of 50,000 to 100,000 phone devices at scale.
Wow.
I'm hoping we can make it work. The turnaround time is, this person said they would fund it, but they need turnaround time in 90 days. I'm a single person operation with one additional helper. 90 days is a little rough.
Time to build and train an entire army of a team.
But I take that as like a path that I know that there's something here, that if somebody of that scale sees to, like, obviously, the sort of money's probably pennies to them to where they can take the risk anyway. But to at least see that like they're getting interest from this and realizing the efficiency of it was really promising, which led to me being like, okay, I need to put in another order. So since that, I have purchased myself another 5,000 phones. Crazy stuff.
That's wild. So I will love to keep talking about this. I want to shift gears though, but before I do, one last question for you about the Cell Hasher. Like, if you're not a person who has a $200 million farm going on or something, what type of person would be interested in like buying one of these? Like, who are these for?
Yeah, great question. If you're a tinkerer, if you love DPIN especially, like I try to view this as the DPIN gateway into mining. Because DPIN is very rewards based on incentives on the protocol and getting, the protocol gains fees and then you get paid out from those fees. Or Helium, for an example, there's phone services, so you're getting a portion of providing, the data offload, and you get directly paid out from that. This is a segue for like DPIN users into mining at a very efficient rate. It's home mining available. You don't have to worry about it being noisy. It's very quiet. It's very efficient. You don't have to worry about crazy power draw. Like on your average home residential, I think you got like a 15 amp circuit or breaker or whatever that you're running to these each outlet. You can run upwards of like 10, 20 of these on one circuit. So it's like really reasonable. The space is really compact. You don't have to worry about having cords and plugins all over with your phone scattered all over the place. Some people do that and it works for them. Not myself. I need to be organized in order for the wife to stay happy. So we're good there. But yeah, anybody who wants to tinker, wants to do something that isn't really done, kind of feel early to something, I think that's the way to go. I think there's no shame in running one.
Yeah, that's a really cool. I haven't thought about it like that as being kind of a bridge, something that bridges the gap between the DePIN world and the mining world. Because in the mining world, we're used to these high power, lots of heat, noise machines that can make those massive numbers. But if you're a home miner, with a high electricity rate, you're probably going to be looking at DePIN stuff because it's almost no power. But usually the profits aren't nearly as crazy, especially some of those brand new first generation Asics. However, this feels like it's somewhere in between where you have the flexibility to go attack the $40 per day thing, or you can just stick with something that's a little bit more proven if you want over time and do lower numbers. But either way, you're at a really efficient electricity usage, which means it's way more viable than the big boys. But you can put it wherever you want, like the DePIN stuff. That's a pretty cool way to look at it. I like that a lot.
Acroast is DePIN, and then you got the mining aspect. So the fact that I'm able to do both with one device, it's very versatile, and you have full control over it. So you could really do anything with it. Yeah.
Yep, I love it. Well, I would like to do more cell phone content on my channel, so I think me and Luke will be talking, but let's switch gears here for a second. I want to talk about Bellscoin because this is really fascinating. So let's start with a high level, quick overview. What is Bellscoin?
Bellscoin. If you haven't heard about it yet, that's okay. You're going to hear about it now. Bellscoin was created in 2013, November 22nd or 28th, which was 8 days before Dogecoin was created. Surprisingly enough, it was actually created by the person who created Dogecoin. And there's official tweets of this and everything like that. His name is Billy Marcus. When he created Bellscoin, he realized that Jackson Palmer, the other creator of Dogecoin, wanted to make something. And Billy says, "Hey, I'd love to work on this with you on Twitter. Here's my other coin, Bellscoin, that I made." And they went on to make Dogecoin and abandoned Bellscoin. The community tried for about a year to keep Bellscoin going, but Dogecoin, with much wow and multi-million-dollar coins that people could have, they went and Dogecoin kind of won and taken shape. The surprising factor that not a lot of people know about Bellscoin is derived from a Nintendo-inspired video game called Animal Crossing, where users in Animal Crossing have to dig or do certain tasks, dig meaning mining, for bells. Bells is the currency. Which is super cool because in the Genesis block of Bellscoin is the word Nintendo. No, so not Nintendo, but Nintendo. Funny enough, that is also the Dogecoin's Genesis block name because they forked Dogecoin from Bellscoin.
Yeah. And
nobody could figure out why for almost a decade because Billy never said anything on why Dogecoin's Genesis block name is Nintendo. Like Bitcoin has, Chancellor on the brink of second bailouts or whatever. And Litecoin, gosh, shoot, I'm a Litecoin dev and I don't remember what's in the Genesis block of Litecoin. Litecoin has another one similar to, I think it's the 2008 housing crash or something like that. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's something else. But everybody was wondering, why is Dogecoin Nintendo? And now they have the answer to that. So last December, so 2023, December, that tweet resurfaced of Billy Marcus, kind of because it was the birthday of Doge. And people realized that, wait a second. So the Dogecoin creator made another coin before Dogecoin. So through the rabbit hole, a friend of a friend reached out to myself and said, hey, can you is this a thing? Is this legit? Can you get this running? I went to the page, to Bitcoin Talk Forum, and sure enough, Billy M2K, which is his username, so Billy Marcus, had posted his first crypto project, which was Bellscoin at the time. The source code was still on the Bitcoin forums at the time. Downloaded that, ran it. Nobody was on. There was no nodes I could connect to. There was nothing. So being the person that I am, I love mining. So I'm I'm gonna pop this up in mine. So I got another buddy to launch a node on his end. We connected our RPCs. At the time, it was using the old RPC connection, which is a chat interface, which is really cool, honestly, but way dated. But we connected our IPs and essentially got mining together. And what this did right away was we realized, holy smokes, we got this cool thing, and it's it's CPU mineable. It's script based, but it's CPU mineable, obviously, because there's no Asics on the network because it's not merged mined with Litecoin or Dogecoin. So one of the other people who reached out to me, they asked if I could try to get this running, and I was able to change a few things, get it running on the original source code and everything. They made a tweet, and just like the Twitter gods themselves made that tweet go viral. And it got a couple million impressions. And within a couple of days, there was already Asics on the network. So we made a tweet about how you could mine it with your CPU. And within a few days, sorry to all my CPU lovers out there, the opportunity window was completely done in a few days. And it got a lot of attention from a lot of the miners because all of a sudden the hash rate spiked away from Dogecoin and Litecoin at the time. So with that, people were wondering, okay, like, why is the hash rate falling on Dogecoin and Litecoin? Where is it going? Since it's not merge mineable, you have to declare that you're mining Bellscoin at the time. So people were wondering where this is going. More and more miners came online. The first listing of Bellscoin got taken up simply because the hash rate spiked to 300 terahash at the time, which was really significant for a coin that had been dormant for over a decade. Nobody was running it, mining it, or anything like that. To all of a sudden having 300 terahash, like a third of the entire script network's hash rate. So a few listings took place on some smaller exchanges. And obviously people didn't understand the tokenomics at the time. So the price was like crazy high. And it made for like a few days on NiceHash where their algorithms picked it up for converting in script algorithms to where on like an L7, you were making like $25 a day, which if anybody runs an L7 right now, I think it's like $4 to $8 in that range. So it was significant. And people then caught eyes of Bellscoin and it kind of blew up into this thing to where thankfully, Bitmain asked us like, hey, what's going on with this? What can we do? And a few others, mining pools jumped on. And that's, I think, how I met you the first time was actually in Austin when I was talking with Bitmain.
Yep.
We're talking with Bitmain on their L9 miner launch. And we had in talks of how we could, strategically put bells into the script ecosystem as merged mined. And since then, we've done that. So it's provided additional revenue to script miners, which is great. It's also secured the Bellscoin blockchain for the inevitable future because regardless of the price now, it will always be mined. It doesn't people don't have to worry about the epochs and the halvings that happen because there's always, it's kind of like a Caspa mining schedule. Not to the crazy extent that Caspa is, but it's like gamified and it's like randomized at the same time. So block rewards, you have anywhere within like the first epoch, it was like you could get a 10,000 Bellscoin block, which 10,000 Bellscoin today is like $5,000. So a single miner could hit a block and get $5,000, and block times are 60 seconds. All the way down to in the same epoch, you could get a block that was only 50 Bell per block, which is obviously significantly lower than 10,000 blocks. But you have this gamified aspect to where people then were like strategically trying to calculate and find out how they can mine just the 10,000 Bellscoin blocks, which led to the first problem that the network had, which was the 51% attacks right away when we got it running again. Because obviously these big miners could just throw their Asics on and just go crazy. So in order to fix that, we had to merge mine. So we got in contact with Bitmain, a few other developers, and it was a little bit beyond my developer range at the time to integrate Oxpow is what it is. And they ended up getting that implemented and has been, actually, that was like, honestly, just like 2 months ago that it was implemented. And probably the best decision that was ever made for the chain, in my opinion, because now it's secured. Now it's not just a meme coin. It's not just a proof of work coin. Like it's here now. It's not going away. The dormancy of being 10 years old is now gone. Believe it or not, Billy Marcus actually holds like 100,000 Bellscoin. He doesn't hold any Doge. I think he bought a Honda back in the day with it. But yeah, there's Bellscoin and where it is today. Block times are 60 seconds. Unlike Dogecoin, it has SegWit, so there's actually more throughput in the blocks. So what that means is Dogecoin's throughput is 4 megabytes, excuse me, 1 megabyte a block. So we use the 10-minute time frame for megabyte throughput on UTXO style chains. And we do 10 minutes because Bitcoin is 10 minutes. So a Bitcoin block is once every 10 minutes, and it has SegWit enabled. So it has 4 megabytes of throughput every 10 minutes. Litecoin has, in a 10-minute time phrase, obviously has 2.5-minute time for blocks, but it has SegWit enabled. So in the 10-minute time frame, 10 times 4, you end up, excuse me, not 10 times 4, 4 times 4, you end up having 16 megabytes of throughput on Litecoin. Dogecoin is different because they don't have SegWit integrated into it, believe it or not. Love Dogecoin. I wish they do it. Maybe in the future they will. But Dogecoin only has legacy, which is essentially 1 megabyte per block. But in a 10-minute time frame, there's 10 blocks because there's 60-second blocks. So you still get 10 megabytes of throughput, which is more than Bitcoin. Bellscoin, however, has SegWit enabled and 1-minute blocks. So now Bellscoin, in a 10-minute time frame, you have 40 megabytes of throughput in 10 minutes, which is pretty substantial for UTXO style chains. I think the only other competitor is probably Caspa, but their technology is a little bit different. It's not directly correlated to these basic hardbone UTXO style chains. What that means
is a DAG, so
it
has all the simultaneously happening blocks and various things like that. Yeah,
right. And what that means is, for the throughput, why would anybody care about throughput? It means you can have more transactions, TPS per second. It also means you can store more data on chain. One thing that has been new as of the last couple of years has been ordinals. It really took off on Bitcoin, of course. If you were a miner like you and myself, we loved that first couple weeks of fees. Even Caspa fees have been great with their KC20s recently that relaunched. I think they're KRC20s. I think that's what they're called.
KRC20, yep.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done it, but I've been mining, so it's been great. But out of all the ordinal chains that we have to date, so that means Caspa, that means Litecoin, that means Dogecoin, that means Bitcoin. Bellscoin, in under a year, has more inscriptions, more ordinals than any other UTXO style chain. It has 150 million ordinals, which also means that there's been 150 million transactions on the network in less than a year. So it is actually being used, which is crazy. And people are using it because it's ordinals, but it's faster. It's 60-second blocks, so it's faster than Bitcoin. It has more data, so people can put bigger images. They can do more creative work on it. So it's super cool. And the developer that's working on it now, so I'm going to exclude myself from this. I was the person who helped get it started. I am now more of an advisor and kind of throwing out ideas there. Just fair warning there.
So originally, Dogecoin was made as a joke. Was Bellscoin made as a joke? Was it intended as a meme coin at the beginning? And you said it's no longer a meme coin, and now you're talking about how many ordinals have been minted on it stuff. So is that the new direction of it? Is that the utility? What is the purpose of Bellscoin going forward?
I love it. There's no purpose. There really isn't. I'm trying to say that with a straight face, but I think most things currently in crypto, there is really no purpose other than you're just trying and you're experimenting. I do think the path that Bellscoin is going on is, yes, it was created as a joke. Billy Marcus created Dogecoin as a joke. He created Bellscoin as a joke. He didn't like crypto, and that was kind of his aspect. Is I'm just going to make this as a joke. So yes, it is for the meme coin enthusiasts, it is 100% a meme coin. For the proof of work enthusiasts, it's 100% a mineable proof of work coin. For the ordinals and NFT and art community, it is its own layer 1 blockchain where you can actually create stuff on it. It is limited by the fact that there's not necessarily smart contracts, but that is actually coming in an update. So huge. The developers that are working on it now are actually insane. So yeah, the pathway going forward is, I would say, more of a test. It's a chain where they're trying, the people working on it now are really trying to make it competitive with all the different chains today, but also keep it as a testing chain. So to get updates happening on Bitcoin is really hard. It's really hard to push consensus on Bitcoin. It's not so hard to push consensus on Bellscoin, because Bellscoin is so new and so fresh. People understand that Bellscoin needs sort of an edge to have sort of an impact. For example, Taproot got activated today. Taproot is another way of handling Bitcoin scripts. You need Taproot in order to run Opcat. Opcat was a script made by Satoshi for Bitcoin in the original Bitcoin code, but he since disabled it because they didn't know what exactly could be done with it, if it could be compromisable. And since then, there's been so many communities around trying to enable Opcat because that would enable base layer somewhat smart contracts for marketplaces. It could all be on chain. You wouldn't have to have indexers creating like off-chain indexes for marketplaces. It would be atomic swaps would be enabled base chain. So people have been pushing for it on Bitcoin for a long time, but consensus is so hard to where it's like not going to happen unless somebody else does it. And Litecoin hasn't done it. Dogecoin hasn't done it. And that's kind of the direction that, the Bellscoin developers currently are of sort of taking, is they're taking that initial strive and that initial test to add these, ZK snarks are kind of the terminology that we're going with. But Opcat is being enabled. OP growth 16 verify, crazy term, yes, is being enabled. That is what it enables ZK snarks, which enables like privacy layer atomic swaps, peer-to-peer transfers. It's being able to buy an asset, but nobody knowing how much you actually spent on that asset. Different gamified things as well. So I think that's the kind of the route and the path that Bellscoin going forward is taking. Like all honesty, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was going to say that like Bitcoin is both seen as a good thing and a bad thing, that it is extremely hard to change. It's good because otherwise, if it was really easy, then anybody could make any changes they want and implement them in the network, and it'd be really easy to push it. But the bad thing is, we're kind of stuck with the code we have unless we're just building, more superficial changes on top of this or that.
Layer twos.
But that isn't. Yeah, but that's a really interesting element to, other chains where you can have those experiments happen because the network is not so widespread. The ossification isn't so extreme that you can no longer make these changes. So explain to me, because I think a lot of people are going to be exposed to Bellscoin because of merge mining.
Oh, yeah.
Triple merge mining specifically. What is merge mining?
Yeah, so again, it's the efficiency thing. But merge mining directly is using your machine that you already have set up to mine one algorithm or one crypto with no extra compute power to be able to mine alternative cryptos or algorithms on that same hashing algorithm. So example, script algorithm is well known for merge mining. And the reason it's well known for merge mining is because Dogecoin and Litecoin, you can use the same device, mine both of them, get both of them with no additional compute, no additional electric power. The reason this is good is if one chain fails, it's still gonna, or when I say fails, if one chain goes to zero, it doesn't affect the hardware that you already have. It might profitability-wise affect a little bit, but you still have another mining algorithm and another coin, or excuse me, not another mining algorithm, but another coin that is being mined with your hardware. So what Bellscoin is doing now is they're leveraging that, the script algorithm, and making it mineable with Litecoin and Dogecoin. So you're just essentially with no additional computing power, same efficiency. Actually, it's more efficient now, technically. You're getting more dollar back in your pocket for mining, which has been absolutely great for the mining community. Not so much for the people who are bag holders and want price to go up all the time. But at the same reason, like it makes the chain secure. You don't have to worry about 51% attacks because now you have a significant amount of hash rate spread across all the pools and individual miners. It's just more of a secure thing. And believe it or not a lot of people know this, but Bitcoin is merge mined actually with a few other coins. Namecoin is one of them. Namecoin created and proposed essentially by Hal Finney, which a lot of people think Hal Finney is potentially a creator of Bitcoin, conspiracy theory. Believe it if you may. But yeah, like Namecoin was essentially merged mined with Bitcoin. The thing is Namecoin in the first days that it was launched were really good and really profitable. Now it's not so profitable for people, but you still can accumulate it. So if you're mining to a pool that has Bitcoin, you should see if you can still get your Namecoin payouts, because essentially it's pennies, but I mean you are stacking coins.
So if you have a script ASIC, like let's say a Bitmain L7, or you're about to buy the brand new L9, what do you have to do to make sure you're merge mining, not just, not mining Litecoin only, Dogecoin as well, but also Bellscoin?
Yeah, great question. You're going to join a pool that has it enabled. The majority of all the pools have merge mining enabled now, other than Binance Mining Pool. Binance Mining Pool actually didn't even have Caspa involved for a few years before. Or excuse me. Yeah, a few years. I think Caspa just got enabled in the last couple months on Binance Pool. So they're really picky with what they're doing. I do think they'll add it. I can't confirm or deny. But you join a pool. So you go to like mining pool stats, look up what pools are being used. Via BTC seems to be the mega pool that people use. It's also really good for auto converting your crypto. So if you mine Bellscoin, you could convert it to USDC or USDT or to Bitcoin or to anything. I have my other opinion on auto converts, but that's all right. But yeah, it's as simple as plugging and playing and doing everything you normally would, getting a pool set up on it, which you're not going to mine script algorithm merge mine without a pool. Like you're not going to ever get a block, unless you get really lucky with the chances that are slim, and you wouldn't want to mine 10,000 Dogecoin and 3.125 Bitcoin or 50 Bellscoin and lottery risk it as a solo miner on script. You don't necessarily want to do that. So yeah, it's really straightforward and basic. Just plug it in. It'll have a miner dashboard. You locate to the IP of the miner. From there, I do believe now they have options to where you can just simply click what pool interface you want, and they'll auto-populate the stratum for you. The stratum is essentially the IP that your mining device sends shares to, because majority of these pools are based on PPLNS. So a profit sharing, how many shares you submit and how long you've been on the pool for your payouts. But it's really easy. I think the one additional change you'll need to do is in your pool that you're running, just make sure you have a Bellscoin address set for payouts. Otherwise, you're giving the pool free Bellscoin. You're giving the pool free money.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. They make plenty of money on fees. Promise you that.
So to close us out here, I want to focus on the opportunity here.
Okay.
Because Litecoin is like a $5 or $4 billion market cap today, and it's been much higher in the past. Dogecoin, I think, is still over $10 billion in market capitalization. But Bellscoin, last I looked, is a lot lower. So if you're going to be merge mining this, you're going to be buying this or whatever, what do you see? Why would people want to maybe consider not converting, not sell it on the regular, maybe hodl a little bit until 2025, if that's when we're going to have our next bull run?
And can't speak for everybody. You know your situation better than I do. So if you're mining as a business and you need the profits on your money sheet and the balance, do what you need to do. As far as I have to say, if you look at the top producing by emission coins out of all mining, Bellscoin is actually in like the top 6 or 7, which is absolutely insane. Currently in this epoch, I think it's roughly like anywhere. We've seen peaks when Bellscoin was at its highest, and now where it's at right now of around $100,000 in emissions mined a day, upwards to almost 500,000 mined a day. At 500,000 mined a day, it's actually in the top 4, right behind Dogecoin, higher than what Litecoin emits. But the thing is you have to look at those coins. Those coins all have billion-dollar market caps. Bellscoin has like a $30 million market cap right now. So it's significant enough to where if it does dump, it's still in the $1 million market caps. There's still volume. It's not like a pump fund meme coin that's launched and you're trading a coin that has a few $1,000s worth of volume. So the volatility is crazy. There's liquidity pools that have been set up for Bellscoin on these exchanges. So there is liquidity, but it's a $30 million coin. So to your upside, like I do think it's significantly hard these days to get to $1 billion market cap for really any token. I do think that Bellscoin probably has a very good shot at it. In a non-biased opinion, if I'm looking at this as an investor standpoint, not financial advice whatsoever, Bellscoin doesn't have a VC. Caspa didn't have a VC right away. Bellscoin is truly all community. The users have been using it. It has the most ordinals on any ordinal blockchain. Its technology is essentially almost the fastest UTXO style chain. I think Caspa with their DEG is a little bit faster. But on top of that, they're like the developers are actually doing stuff and they're working for free. So out of all the development that you've seen so far on Bellscoin, and if you haven't seen, I'll just lay it out for you. First, that's been pools. That's been getting exchanges to list. That's been running infrastructure for all these things. That's been the SegWit upgrade, the Taproot upgrade, the merge mining, which is massive in the coming weeks on testnet, Opcat, Growth 16 Verify, ZK Snarks. All of those are out of like the Bellscoin's developers' own pocket. So it's really cool to see that. Obviously, who would be doing that if they didn't have, the interest of financial game? Obviously, they see something within it. It has the community around it. It's made by Dogecoin's founder. He's actually not like stingy about it. He does hold some. He did ask for donations when it came back online. Not gonna lie, but he's actually Billy has been in the Bellscoin Discord giving like tips on what we could do. So he was actually the one who told us, if you want Bellscoin to live now, you need to get it merged mined. And also he's like, I messed up in the code. The supply is actually unlimited. It's not capped at 500 million. So if you look at CoinGecko, I think it might say 500 million. It's actually unlimited, but do your research because in the next 20 years, Bellscoin won't even have more coins in circulation than Litecoin, which is like 80 million. So it's a really slow progression, but the epochs right now are a very good opportunity to at least mine. So that's kind of what I have to say there.
Yeah, I think the market cap of $25 million today, when you have exposure to all these people who see they can merge mine it with things that are in the billions, in Andy's mind at least, that seems like that's, potential upside. If Bellscoin even were to get to 1/5 the size of Litecoin, which would be a $1 billion market cap, that's a 40x from where it is today. That ain't half bad. Well, cool. This was a lot of fun. I am really excited. I got to go, spin up the phones. I got to get some things going. I got to make my $40 per day. I'm excited about all this. Hopefully other people got some good value out of this one too. But Luke, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me on the podcast.
Appreciate you having me. Always great. Thank you.
Yep. And all those who are listening, thank you for listening. I will see you in the next one.